Well, hello everyone. This is Wanderlust, as always. This is, and I there were two games that recently came out, including one really interesting one, the Intrasquad friendly between up and comers. And since I'm not going to fool anyone into thinking I'm doing anything other than putting off the game, putting off the league game stuff as much as possible, I may as well just go at it right now. So anyhow, I don't really know any of the people there. This is the intra-squad roster. Let's see. Aiden Russianus, that was somebody who was considered as a good Oxner replacement or basket replacement, depending. There are a lot of guys in their base teams. It's pretty cool. I really hope some of them make it to the first team, particularly the likes of Russianus, Mikhail Parker, and Ding, Jabu Ding, and Enzo Ulafua. That would actually be pretty interesting. I don't know these other than their names and the stuff they did on the pitch. One thing I can tell you about the game is it was a very interesting game, and it had goals of the football variety that you kick in the net. Most from open play. That's hopeful on its own. The thing about it is, there were a lot of turnovers, so I think both sides need to hang on to the ball a little better. And at the same time, both sides are also really good at proactively intercepting once they improved on hanging onto the ball and avoiding being intercepted. And there's fine margins between the two, but it depends on how hard a team has to try in order to get between one end of a pass and the other. Yeah. Also, so Navy got off to a really solid start, and then they ended up making a few errors close to the end of the half that turned 2-0 into 2-2, including, Ding's foul that led to a free kick, a light team free kick, that ended up costing Navy a second goal. Navy team and the light team were strong. However, Navy learned their lesson. Navy definitely improved from that in the second one. Both sides showed more intensity. And Navy managed to take one more chance than Light, and they managed to get their lead back close to the end, 3-2. Again, I know not one so-and-so on here, so I can't really say too much about them beyond the immediate stuff of the pitch, and hopefully I get to know these a little closer, or some of them a little closer, in the months to come, maybe even next season. Also, a lot of long balls on both sides, so that's also very familiar. Now on to the other match. This should have been the beginning of a recovery. This should have been a reaction. And it almost was. It's disappointing, really. I said constantly, the next two home games are 6 points or bust. It turned out to be bust right away against Edmonton, the lowest team, so far the lowest team on the table. And credit to Edmonton, they fought like hell to avoid a defeat, and they managed to stick around. Vejkla's pretty strong. I think Vejkla and Farshevsky are two of the best players on that team by far. Not to discredit the others, but yeah, Vejkla made really good saves at really important times. I overvalued the last save that he made that ended as a draw and could easily have been us winning narrowly. But that was just a good save taken at a crucial time. It counts, though. and it really did show his stuff. So fair credit to him. Let's see. The thing about it is we started in what I believe what was like a 4-5-1 kind of thing, which already is not good. That's ultra conservative, ultra rigid at a time when we easily could have pressed the advantage a little more and gotten a heck of a lot more than just one penalty goal. And speaking of that, there was a lack of intensity throughout the game. Not like they weren't trying. You bet we were trying, and so were Edmonton. One thing that caused my heart to sink was when Gander very sort of lightly brushed against Timoteo. I didn't even see contact, and I looked at that thing a whole lot in the highlights, and I didn't see any more. I didn't really see any contact there, and I'm trying not to be a homer here. And it doesn't even seem like Timoteo was trying to milk it. It honestly looked like an honest slip. But the ref decided, yeah, there was enough contact to point to the spot. Varshevsky got in there. It was chosen as the penalty taker. He took the penalty. It was a very well struck penalty. 0-1. This had a lot of people on Wanderers extremely and justifiably worried. As did the continued responsive, entirely reactive play an austere play from us, which was more about responding to Edmonton than making them respond and giving them something to think about. Fernandez was pretty good at getting what half chances we could get, and even if there were a few cheap fouls he gave, they more than made up for it with basically the most intensity we had, and it's not even close until the 70th minute. It went back and forth a whole while. Not really the most entertaining game for a neutral. And then there's halftime, and then more of the same until like around the 70th minute. To the Wanderers' credit, to Hart's credit, he recognized that Omar went missing, and absolutely missing at that, the first half, and subbed his ass off for Robinson, who did a lot better, but still wasn't that substantial by comparison. He wasn't a ghost. He contributed, but in the way the average, and slightly below average in terms of intensity, but not terrible. Not terrible. And let me check the other subs that were made. Okay, there was that sub, and then on the 67th minute, the sub we were all waiting for. It's time. Mwandwe in for Marshall. Marshall got really close, but he couldn't really get that final one off. Mwandwe didn't score today, but he definitely set a lot of free kicks up. He got in and provided forward movement. The intensity and the entire game was like night and day when he came on. He even got the penalty. Salter took that, and he took that well. But there wasn't much else Salter did that I thought, how amazing. But it counts. But yeah, even before and after that, Mwandwe was beating defenders. He was giving defenders something to think about, including Higgins, who was on a yellow from minute 3 and wasn't subbed, despite me being very concerned that they would have subbed him off and we would have missed our window. I wanted so badly for us to get his ass, and Simmons and Singh, or any one of them, to get Higgins' ass, because Higgins was a mess all the way through, and not just because of the super early yellow card. If we pressured him, I'm pretty sure we could have had an 11 versus 10 game, and that would have changed everything. Even without that, if we played for the first 67 minutes with the same kind of proactivity, or even a little bit more of the proactivity we had at the 67th minute, we could have gotten one or two more goals, and that we could have absolutely. In fact, I'm confident we would have. We would have gotten 3 points, and we would have had the playoffs would have been in our hands. Still not at all a guarantee, but in our hands. As it stands right now, for us to have a chance at the playoffs, some of the teams narrowly above us, like Forge or Valor, would have to struggle. Even more than Pacific did earlier. Pacific managed to get out of that struggle, and they're now second, only behind Ottawa in goal difference. So they're it easy. So I'm not hopeful about that. Main thing is this is but yeah, Mwandwe came in and he changed the game, including helping the others in front of him get more chances, actual chances, and not just half chances. And then near the end, there was a free kick that could easily have been 2-1 in spite of it all. Unfortunately, Vekla made a good save, a great save even, at a crucial time. It was not save of the season like I initially thought it was in the moment when emotions were extremely high. I grossly overvalued it, but it still was very consequential because it was the difference between sharing the points and us getting all three in spite of ourselves. For the record, the Varshevsky penalty, I think, was an absolute piss take. Super duper soft. The softest call I've seen all season. In my opinion. But Marquez isn't to blame for us only taking a point out of this. The significant majority of Marquez's calls have been sound. He had a few shit calls, but every call that wasn't a notably bad call was a really good call on both sides. There was a free kick that was nowhere near a free kick when an Edmonton player jumped up and sort of like fell over top of one of us, and it was given for Edmonton. That was shenanigans too. But Marquez was mostly sound, and I'm not blaming the referee for this. We had a lot of opportunities to put it to bed independent of the dodgy penalty call. The main thing is we lacked intensity. Most of it, in my opinion, is a tactical problem. And I'm not going to get at length into the hard out or the overly long, more lenient hashtag/banner statement that would be a pain in the ass to write on a banner involving Hart taking a more public-facing role while Dorado does coachy coach stuff. I'm reevaluating my stance on that based on a lot of things because there are probably a lot of things I don't not know about. But the main thing is something has to change. We have to step our shit up. Our season may be practically over, even though there's 11 more games. There's still plenty more games for us to play, but in terms of our stated goal of getting to the playoffs, the season is over. And last year, when our form had a terrible run near the end, we only missed the playoffs by one goal against Ottawa because they got one back. We were ahead for a bit, and we were controlling most of the game, but they got one back, and we couldn't retake the lead, so the playoffs went to York that year. Looks like the same issue of a lack of offensive strength and a lack of adaptability is still a problem. I really would look forward to Morelli coming back when he's able. That might not necessarily be next year, because Mwandwe, Salter, Bent, even with the faintest possibility of Morelli dropping behind them, would be a godsend. But given the severity of Morelli's injury, it'd probably be later 2023 where he got action other than as an impact sub, and that hurts. Anyhow, while the playoffs are fucked, unless something major happens, and right now I think it's out of our hands at a minimum, I will just take each game one game at a time and just do the best to analyze them and to provide for you lot, the fans, as best as I can. Up the Wa, together from a ways. Come on, Wanderers! We are a team in crisis.